The knock came at 7:04 p.m. on a Friday. Liam Carter stood frozen behind the door, his 4-year-old son asleep in the next room, knowing exactly who it was. Rent was 17 days overdue. The woman on the other side owned half the buildings in Pasadena and had a reputation for showing no mercy. Beautiful, sharp, untouchable. Ava Sinclair didn't do second chances. He had $112 in his account. Rent was $1,850. When he opened the door, he had no plan, no excuse that would work. What happened next would change both their lives forever. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. The apartment smelled like mac and cheese and acrylic paint. Liam Carter wiped his hands on his jeans, still streaked with burnt sienna from the canvas he'd abandoned an hour ago, and crossed the small living room toward the front door. The knock came again. Sharper this time. More insistent. The kind of knock that didn't ask permission. It demanded attention. He glanced back toward the hallway where Noah's door sat half open, a sliver of Buzz Lightyear nightlight spilling onto the worn carpet. His son had finally gone down after 3 stories, 2 glasses of water, and a negotiation about whether dinosaurs could actually fly. Liam couldn't afford for him to wake up. Not for this conversation. The knock came a third time. Liam twisted the deadbolt and pulled the door open. Ava Sinclair stood in the hallway like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread and accidentally wandered into the wrong zip code. Tailored black coat that probably cost more than 3 months of his rent. Heels that clicked with authority on cheap linoleum. Dark hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless but wasn't. The kind of style that required time and money and a life that didn't involve scraping by. She was 28, maybe 29. He'd seen her exactly twice before. Once when he signed the lease 14 months ago, her assistant doing most of the talking while she reviewed paperwork with the focus of someone who saw numbers instead of people. Once when she'd toured the building with some investor type in an expensive suit, both of them nodding at clipboards and talking about ROI and property value. Like the people living here were just data points. She didn't smile now. "Mr. Carter." Her voice was cool, professional. The kind of tone that came from too many conversations just like this one. "Miss Sinclair." Her eyes flicked past him into the apartment, taking inventory in the way people with money always did. The second-hand couch with the tear in the armrest covered by a throw blanket. The toy cars scattered near the TV stand. The stack of bills on the kitchen counter he'd shoved aside earlier. The half-finished painting propped against the wall behind the couch. A street scene he'd been working on for 3 weeks. She didn't linger. Her gaze came back to him, cool and assessing, and he felt himself being measured against some invisible standard he already knew he'd failed. "You know why I'm here." It wasn't a question. "Yeah." He kept his voice low, conscious of Noah sleeping 20 feet away. "I know. 17 days. I'm aware." She tilted her head slightly, the movement sharp and deliberate. "Then you also know I don't extend grace periods." "I figured." A beat of silence stretched between them. Somewhere down the hall a door slammed. Someone's TV blared through thin walls. A game show, all bright music and fake enthusiasm. A dog barked. The building hummed with the white noise of other people's lives, continuing on while his teetered on a cliff edge. Ava's expression didn't shift. No sympathy, no impatience, just a flat business-like neutrality that was somehow worse than anger would have been. "I've got 3 other properties with tenants who think tears and excuses buy them time," she said. "I'm not interested in either. I'm not offering any." That seemed to catch her off guard. Her eyebrow lifted, just barely, a millimeter of movement that might have been surprise or might have been skepticism. Liam exhaled slowly. His chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a band around his ribs and pulled until breathing took effort. He thought about Noah asleep in the next room, that dinosaur blanket tucked up under his chin. Thought about the eviction notice that would come next if he didn't figure this out. Thought about the painting stacked in his bedroom closet that no gallery had ever wanted, that no buyer had ever seen. He did the only thing he could think of. "You want to come in?" Ava blinked. "Excuse me?" "Come inside, just for a minute." He stepped back, holding the door open wider. "I'm not going to waste your time, but if you're going to kick us out, you should at least know what you're kicking out." She stared at him like he'd suggested something obscene, like tenants didn't invite landlords into their apartments to bargain, like this wasn't how things were done. Mr. Carter, I'm not here to tour your living situation. I'm here to collect what you owe or serve notice. I get that, but I don't have the money. Then we're done here. I have something else. Ava's jaw tightened. A muscle twitched near her temple. I don't take jewelry, electronics, or sob stories. Not asking you to. Liam nodded toward the interior of the apartment. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking. She studied him. He could see the calculation happening behind her eyes, the weighing of whether this was worth her time or just another desperate tenant grasping at straws, trying to delay the inevitable. Her gaze dropped to his paint-stained hands, the streaks of color that had become so permanent he didn't notice them anymore, then lifted back to his face. Finally, she sighed. 5 minutes. She stepped inside and Liam closed the door behind her. The apartment felt smaller with her in it. She stood near the entrance, arms crossed over her chest, her coat still buttoned all the way up. She didn't sit, didn't relax, didn't take off her coat like she planned to stay. Just waited, radiating the kind of controlled impatience that came from running a business where every minute had a dollar value attached. Liam moved toward the far wall where 3 canvases leaned against the baseboard, half hidden behind the couch. He crouched down and pulled the first one forward, angling it so she could see. It was a street scene, Pasadena at dusk. The old buildings on Colorado Boulevard bathed in amber light, shadows stretching long across empty sidewalks. He'd painted it from memory, working late at night when the city was quiet, and he could almost pretend he wasn't drowning. The detail was meticulous. Every brick rendered, every window reflection caught, every crack in the pavement mapped out like it mattered. Ava glanced at it. Her expression didn't change. She said nothing. He pulled out the second painting. This one was different. A close-up of hands, worn hands, calloused. The kind that had worked hard for a long time and carried the proof in every scar and callus. They were wrapped around a chipped coffee cup, knuckles prominent, veins visible under thin skin. Still nothing from Ava. The third painting made her pause. It was a figure on a bench in a park, hunched forward, face hidden in their hands. The posture screamed exhaustion, the kind that went bone deep and didn't lift with a good night's sleep. But the background told a different story. Trees in full bloom, sunlight breaking through branches in shafts of gold, flowers bright against green grass. The contrast was deliberate, despair framed by beauty, hopelessness surrounded by life. Ava's expression didn't change, but her eyes stayed on the canvas a fraction longer than they had the others. Liam stood, wiping his palms on his jeans. I paint. Have been since college. Sold a few pieces here and there over the years, but nothing consistent, nothing that pays the bills or even comes close. He gestured toward the paintings leaning against the wall. I've got about 20 more in the bedroom, different styles, different subjects. Some are better than these, some aren't. And you're telling me this because... Her voice was flat, unimpressed. Because I'm offering them to you, not as a gift, as payment. Ava's laugh was short and humorless, barely more than an exhale through her nose. You think I run an art gallery? No, but you've got money. You've got connections. People in your circle who buy expensive things because they can, because it looks good in their houses or their offices. He crossed his arms, matching her stance. I'm not asking you to hang them in your living room. I'm asking you to take them, do whatever you want with them, sell them, throw them away. I don't care, and give me time to catch up. Time. 60 days, 2 months. I've got freelance work coming in, just not enough yet. But it's building. I've got 3 projects lined up. I just need... Everyone needs time, Mr. Carter. Ava's voice cut through his words like a blade. Time doesn't pay my mortgage. It doesn't cover property taxes or maintenance costs or the insurance premiums on 6 buildings. You know what does? Rent. On time. Every month. That's how this works. I know. Then you know this is a business, not a charity. I'm not asking for charity. His voice came out harder than he meant it to. He took a breath, softened his tone. I'm offering a trade. Paintings for time. You get something with actual value, something you could sell if you wanted. I get a chance to keep a roof over my son's head. Ava's gaze drifted past him, toward the hallway where Noah's door stood ajar. For a moment, just a flicker, something shifted in her expression. Too quick to name, gone before he could read it properly. She looked back at the paintings propped against the wall. How much do you think these are worth? Liam hesitated. This was the question that always tripped him up. Price too high and he looked delusional. Price too low and he devalued his own work. I've sold pieces for anywhere between $300 and $2,000, depending on size and who's buying. So you're offering me maybe $6,000, $7,000 worth of art, if I'm lucky and find the right buyer, in exchange for letting you stay rent-free for 2 months. That's $3,700 you'd owe me. $3,700 now, but I'd pay it, every cent. I'm not trying to get out of what I owe. People say a lot of things when they're desperate. I'm not people. Ava's eyes narrowed. No? No. He met her stare and didn't look away. I'm a single dad who works 2 jobs, one doing graphic design that pays like garbage, one driving for a rideshare app on weekends, and paints until 3 in the morning because it's the only thing I'm actually good at. I've got a kid in the next room who deserves better than getting dragged from one apartment to another because his father can't keep up with rent. So yeah, I'm desperate, but I don't lie, and I don't make promises I can't keep. The silence that followed felt like a held breath. The refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. Somewhere outside, a car alarm went off, then stopped. The building settled with small creaks and groans. Ava turned back to the painting of the figure on the bench. She studied it, not the quick, dismissive glance from before, but a real look. Her head tilted. Her fingers drummed once against her coat sleeve, then stopped. You said you have more. Liam blinked. What? More paintings. You said there are 20 in the bedroom. Yeah, about that. Show me. He didn't move for a second, caught off guard by the shift. Then he nodded and led her down the narrow hallway, past the bathroom with its dripping faucet he kept meaning to fix, past Noah's room where he paused to glance inside. His son was still asleep. Small form curled under the dinosaur blanket, one arm flung over a stuffed giraffe that had seen better days. His face was peaceful in a way that made Liam's chest ache. 4 years old, and already he'd been through more upheaval than any kid should have to handle. Liam's bedroom was at the end of the hall. He pushed the door open and flicked on the overhead light. The room was a disaster. Clothes piled on a chair in the corner, a stack of unpaid bills on the nightstand next to a water glass and his phone charger. A twin bed shoved against one wall, unmade, sheets tangled, but the opposite wall, that was all canvas. Paintings leaned in rows, stacked 2 and 3 deep against the wall. Some were framed in cheap frames from the craft store. Most weren't framed at all, just raw canvas stretched over wooden frames he'd built himself. Ava stepped inside and stopped. Liam watched her, trying to read her reaction. He'd shown his work to plenty of people over the years, gallery owners who'd smiled politely and said they'd keep him in mind, potential buyers who'd hemmed and hawed and eventually walked away, friends who'd gushed about how talented he was but never actually bought anything. He'd learned to read the signs, the polite nod that meant no, the forced enthusiasm that preceded rejection, the quick exit that said more than words ever could. Ava wasn't doing any of that. She moved slowly along the wall, crouching down to pull paintings forward one by one, tilting them into the light from the overhead bulb. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions, just looked. One painting showed a woman standing at a kitchen sink, staring out a window. The light coming through was soft, golden, early morning or late afternoon. Steam rose from the water in the sink. Her face was turned away from the viewer, but everything about her posture, shoulders slightly slumped, head bowed, one hand braced against the counter, spoke of weight, of things carried that couldn't be set down. Another painting depicted a child's birthday party in a small living room. Balloons in primary colors, a cake with lit candles, bright streamers taped to the walls. But the child sat alone at the table, staring at a single candle, and the emptiness of the room around him, no other guests, no parents visible, made the whole scene ache with loneliness. There was a painting of an empty playground at dusk, swings still moving slightly as if someone had just left. A painting of hands holding a photograph, the image in the photo deliberately blurred. A painting of a man's silhouette in a doorway, backlit, face obscured. Ava paused at a larger canvas near the back of the stack. This one was different from the others, bolder in composition, more striking. It showed a woman standing in front of a floor-to-ceiling window at night. She was silhouetted against a cityscape, buildings lit up, stretching into the distance, a sprawl of light and glass and steel. But she was dark, just a shadow, unreachable, separated from all that light and life by nothing but glass. Ava stared at it for a long time. The silence stretched. Liam shifted his weight, suddenly hyper-aware of how small his bedroom was, how shabby everything looked under the harsh overhead light, the crack in the ceiling, the peeling paint near the window, the way his whole life fit into one room and still felt cramped. "Where did you study?" Ava's voice was quieter now, less sharp. "Art center. Here in Pasadena, actually. Dropped out junior year when my girlfriend got pregnant." "And you've been painting since?" "On and off, mostly off for a while. Picked it back up seriously about 2 years ago." "Why then?" Liam shrugged. "Noah's mom left when he was 2, just packed a bag one morning and said she couldn't do it anymore. She sends money sometimes, Christmas cards, but she's not. She's gone." He looked at the paintings instead of at Ava. "After she left, I needed something to do after Noah went to bed that wasn't just staring at the TV and hating myself, so I started painting again." Ava's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, something closer to recognition, like she understood that particular brand of late-night desperation. She straightened up and turned to face him. "These are good." Antet. Thanks." "I mean it. They're not perfect. Some of the proportions are off in the figure work. The color choices are safe, you could push them more, but they're honest, and that's rarer than you'd think." Liam didn't know what to say to that. Compliments from people who actually knew what they were talking about were rare enough that he didn't have a script for them. Ava walked back to the painting of the woman at the window. She stood in front of it, arms crossed, staring up at the canvas like it had asked her a question she didn't want to answer. "This one," she said finally. "Who is she?" "No one specific. Just something I saw in my head one night. Couldn't sleep, so I sketched it out, then painted it over a couple weeks. She looks like she's waiting for something. Maybe. Or running from it." Liam studied the painting. He'd finished it 3 months ago, working late on a Tuesday night when insomnia had him wired and restless. He hadn't thought much about the why of it at the time. Just painted until the image in his head matched what was on the canvas. "Could be both," he said. Ava glanced at him, and for the first time since she'd walked into his apartment, her expression wasn't guarded. It was something else, something raw, unprotected. Then it was gone. She turned back to the painting. "I want this one." "What?" "This painting, the woman at the window." She faced him fully, her business mask back in place. "I'll take it, not as payment, as collateral." Liam's pulse kicked up a notch. "Collateral for what?" 60 days, no penalties, no late fees. You catch up on what you owe, you pay in full, and I'll return the painting. You don't catch up, I keep it, and you're out." Eviction proceedings start on day 61. He stared at her, trying to process what he was hearing. "You're serious?" "Do I look like I joke about business?" "No, but why? Why would you do this?" "Because I don't like wasted potential." She nodded toward the painting on the wall. "And because that piece is worth more than $1,800. A lot more, if it's in front of the right people." Liam's throat felt tight. He wanted to argue, to ask what the catch was, to figure out the angle. Nobody did things like this. Nobody gave breaks to broke single dads who couldn't make rent, not landlords, not people with money. But he didn't argue, because he needed this. Needed it more than pride, more than suspicion, more than the nagging voice in his head that said things like, "This didn't happen to people like him." "Okay," he said. "Okay? Yeah, it's a deal." Ava extended her hand. Liam shook it. Her grip was firm, businesslike, no nonsense. But her fingers were warm, and the handshake lasted a second longer than it needed to. "I'll send someone to pick it up tomorrow afternoon," she said. "And Mr. Carter? Yeah? Don't make me regret this." She turned and walked out of the bedroom, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor in the hallway. Liam followed her back to the front door. She paused before leaving, her hand on the doorknob, glancing once more around the apartment. Her gaze landed on the toy cars by the TV, the stack of picture books on the coffee table, the small sneakers by the door. "Your son," she said. "How old is he?" 4, just turned 4 in August. "What's his name?" "Noah." Something flickered across her face. "That's a good name." "Thanks." She looked at him then, really looked at him, and for just a moment the cool professional facade cracked, and he saw something underneath. Something lonely. "He's lucky to have you," she said quietly. Before Liam could respond, before he could figure out what to say to that, she was gone. The door clicked shut behind her, and he was alone in his apartment again. He stood in the small entryway, staring at the closed door, his heart still hammering in his chest. Behind him, the apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of Noah's breathing from down the hall. Liam walked to the couch and sat down heavily. 60 days. He pulled out his phone and opened his bank app. The balance hadn't magically changed. Still $112. Still not nearly enough. But now he had time. He opened his email and started scrolling through job boards, looking for freelance gigs he could pick up. Graphic design work, logo jobs, website mock-ups, anything that paid. His eyes burned, his back ached. He had 1,000 things to worry about and no clear path to solving any of them. But for the first time in weeks, the panic that had been sitting on his chest like a weight eased just slightly. He had 60 days. He could work with that. But yeah, the next morning, Liam woke to the sound of Noah jumping on his bed. "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad." Each word punctuated by a bounce. "I'm awake, I'm awake." Liam groaned and cracked one eye open. Sunlight sliced through the blinds in bright bars. His phone on the nightstand said 7:42 a.m. Noah bounced again, his dinosaur pajamas, covered in T-Rexes and pterodactyls, practically glowing in the morning light. His dark hair stuck up in every direction. He had a smear of what might have been toothpaste on his chin. "Can we have pancakes?" "Sure, bud." "With chocolate chips?" "Don't push it." Noah giggled, that pure, unself-conscious sound that only kids could make, and launched himself off the bed, racing toward the kitchen in his bare feet. Liam dragged himself upright, every muscle protesting. His back complained loudly about too many nights on a mattress that had given up any pretense of support years ago. He shuffled to the bathroom, splashed water on his face, and tried to look like a functional human being. In the kitchen, Noah had already climbed onto his chair at the small table and was drumming his hands on the surface in anticipation, a rhythm only he understood. The kitchen was barely big enough for 2 people. Liam pulled out the pancake mix from the cupboard, the cheap store brand that required you to add your own eggs and milk, and got to work. As the batter sizzled on the griddle, he replayed the previous night in his head. Ava Sinclair standing in his apartment, looking at his paintings, the deal she'd offered. It still didn't feel real. People like her didn't give people like him breaks. That wasn't how the world worked. "Dad?" "Yeah, bud?" "Why was the pretty lady here last night?" Liam glanced over his shoulder. Noah was watching him with those big brown eyes that saw way too much. "You were supposed to be asleep." "I woke up. I heard talking." "She's the landlady. She came to talk about some apartment stuff." "Is she nice?" Liam thought about that while he flipped the pancakes. Was Ava nice? He didn't know. She'd been professional, fair maybe, but nice implied something warmer than what he'd seen. "I think so," he said finally. "Yeah." "She smelled like flowers." "Did she?" Noah nodded solemnly, his expression serious in the way only a 4-year-old's could be when discussing important matters, like the purple ones at the park. "Lavender?" "Yeah, those." Liam plated the pancakes, 2 for Noah, 1 for himself, and set them on the table. Noah attacked his immediately, drowning them in syrup until the plate was more liquid than solid. "Whoa, easy on the syrup there, bud. But it's good. Your teeth are going to fall out. Will the tooth fairy come?" Not until you're older. Noah considered this while chewing. How much older? Couple years. That's forever. Yeah, I know. They ate in comfortable silence. Liam's phone buzzed twice, emails he'd deal with later. Outside, traffic hummed. A garbage truck rumbled past. The building came alive with the sounds of Saturday morning. After breakfast, they got dressed and walked to the park 3 blocks away. It was one of the few things in Pasadena that was free, and Noah could burn off energy while Liam sat on a bench and tried to figure out his next move. At 10:17 a.m., someone knocked on the apartment door. They'd gotten back from the park 20 minutes earlier. Noah was on the living room floor, building an elaborate tower with blocks that would inevitably collapse. Liam was at the kitchen counter, laptop open, trying to draft a proposal for a potential client. He opened the door to find a guy in his 20s, athletic build, wearing a polo shirt with a logo Liam didn't recognize. He held a clipboard. Liam Carter? That's me. I'm here to pick up a painting. Miss Sinclair sent me. Right, of course. She'd said she'd send someone. Liam led him to the bedroom and helped carry the canvas of the woman at the window out of the apartment, down the hallway, and out to a white van parked on the street. The guy had brought proper packing materials, blankets, padding, straps to secure it. They loaded it carefully into the back. She must really like your work, the guy said as he adjusted the straps. I guess. She doesn't usually do stuff like this. Like what? Personal pickups. She's got people for everything, property management, maintenance, legal stuff. But she called me herself this morning, early, like 7 a.m., said this needed to be handled carefully, told me exactly how to wrap it, where to take it. Liam didn't know what to make of that. Where are you taking it? Her place, up in the hills. The guy closed the van doors and locked them. Nice setup. You should see it. After the van pulled away, Liam went back inside. The apartment felt different somehow. Emptier, like removing that one painting had created a vacuum. Noah looked up from his block tower. Where'd the picture go? The landlady borrowed it for a while. Why? Because she liked it. Oh. Noah went back to his blocks, already moving on to more important matters. Liam sat on the couch and pulled out his phone, opened his bank app. Still $112. He had a design gig due next Friday that would bring in $400 if the client didn't flake. Another smaller job the week after that, maybe $200. If he could pick up 2 more freelance projects and sell even one painting, he might actually make this work. Might. He opened his email and started drafting pitches to potential clients, selling himself the way he'd never been comfortable doing. He sent 15 emails before lunch, got 2 responses by dinner, 1 no, 1 maybe. That night, after Noah went to bed, Liam stood in his bedroom staring at the remaining paintings. He should have been working, should have been chasing more freelance gigs, networking, hustling every connection he had. Instead, he pulled out a fresh canvas and started sketching. 3 weeks passed in a blur of deadlines and dishes and daycare drop-offs. Liam picked up 4 more freelance projects. A logo for a startup that paid half up front, website mock-up for a real estate agent, 2 smaller jobs that barely covered groceries. He painted late at night after Noah was asleep and the apartment was quiet. He didn't know why. The deal with Ava had bought him time, but it hadn't bought security. Every hour he spent painting was an hour he wasn't working on paid projects. But he couldn't stop. He painted a father and son at a playground, the father pushing a swing while looking at his phone, the distance between them palpable despite their proximity. He painted a crowded subway car, every passenger isolated in their own bubble despite standing shoulder to shoulder. He painted a street corner at dawn, empty except for a single figure waiting for a bus that might never come. On the 21st day, he sold a painting. Not for much, $600 to a couple in their 60s who'd seen his work at a coffee shop on Lake Avenue, where he'd convinced the owner to let him hang 3 pieces. They came in on a Tuesday afternoon, stood in front of the painting of hands holding a coffee cup, and after 10 minutes of quiet discussion, bought it. Liam deposited the check and immediately paid down part of his debt to Ava. Sent the payment through the property management portal with a note. First installment. More coming. She didn't respond. He bought groceries, real groceries, not just ramen and pasta. Put gas in his car, which had been running on fumes for 3 days. Paid the electric bill that had a cutoff notice attached. Noah's preschool called on a Thursday to remind him tuition was due. $250 he didn't have. He paid it anyway, using money he should have been saving for rent. The freelance work kept trickling in. Enough to keep treading water, not enough to get ahead. On the 43rd day, Liam got an email that changed everything. He was at the kitchen counter, laptop open, working on a logo design for a gym that wanted something edgy but approachable, whatever that meant, when his phone buzzed. New email. Subject line. Inquiry. Commission work. He almost deleted it as spam, but something made him open it. Mr. Carter, I recently viewed your piece Window at a private showing and was deeply impressed by both the emotional depth and technical skill demonstrated in the work. The composition is striking and the execution is professional grade. I'm interested in commissioning a portrait piece for my office, something large scale that conveys strength and resilience. I believe your style would be an excellent fit for what I have in mind. Please contact me at your earliest convenience to discuss terms, timeline, and compensation. Best regards. Richard Tan and Associates. Liam read it 3 times. Then he Googled Richard Tan. The guy ran a corporate law firm in downtown Pasadena, one of those places with marble floors in the lobby and receptionists who looked like they belonged on runways. The kind of firm that represented major corporations, handled multi-million-dollar deals, charged $500 an hour for consultations. Liam's hands were shaking slightly when he typed his response. Mr. Tan, thank you for reaching out. I'd be very interested in discussing a commission. I'm available to meet at your convenience. Please let me know what works for your schedule. Best, Liam Carter. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. The response came 2 hours later with a meeting time, Monday at 2 p.m. Monday afternoon, Liam stood outside the glass tower that housed Tan and Associates, feeling like he'd wandered onto the wrong planet. He'd worn his one decent button-down shirt, wrinkled despite his best efforts with an iron, and jeans that were clean but faded. His shoes were scuffed. He'd gotten a haircut at a cheap place on Fair Oaks that morning, hoping to look more professional. He probably just looked nervous. The lobby was exactly what he'd imagined. Marble floors, modern art on the walls that probably cost more than a car, a reception desk that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of wood. The receptionist, blonde, impeccably dressed, smile that was professional but not warm, checked his name against a list and directed him to the elevators. 12th floor. Richard Tan's office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The man himself was in his 50s, fit in the way that came from personal trainers and disciplined routines. Sharp gray suit, firm handshake, the kind of confidence that came from winning more than you lost. Mr. Carter, thanks for coming in. Thank you for the opportunity. Tan gestured to a chair. Liam sat. The leather was soft and expensive. I'll get right to it, Tan said. I saw your piece at Ava Sinclair's home last week. She was hosting a small gathering, some investors, a few colleagues. She had your painting hung in her main room. Window, she called it. Liam's brain stuttered. Ava had hung his painting in her house. Had people over to see it. It stopped me cold, Tan continued. There's something about it. The isolation, the longing. It's the kind of piece that makes you feel something, and that's rare. He leaned back in his chair. I want something similar for this office. Large scale. Something that conveys resilience in the face of adversity. Strength tempered by humanity. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes. I think so. I'm thinking something maybe 5 feet by 7 feet. Dominant presence, but not overwhelming. Timeline. I'd need it within 6 weeks. Is that feasible? Liam's mind raced. 6 weeks was tight for a piece that size, especially while juggling everything else, but he'd make it work. Yes, that's doable. Good. Tan pulled out a folder, slid a paper across the desk. This is a standard commission agreement. You'd retain all rights to reproduce the image, but I'd own the physical piece. And as for compensation, I'm thinking $10,000. Half up front, half on delivery. Liam's heart stopped. $10,000. He must have misheard. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? 10,000. Is that acceptable, or were you thinking higher? No, that's more than acceptable. Tan smiled. Excellent. If you're agreeable to the terms, we can have contracts drawn up by end of week. They shook hands. Liam signed preliminary paperwork. Walked out of that building 40 minutes later feeling like the ground had shifted under his feet. $10,000. $5,000 up front. He could pay Ava back in full. Could get ahead on rent for the first time in over a year. Could buy Noah new clothes that fit properly instead of the thrift store finds that were always slightly wrong. He sat in his car in the parking garage and just breathed. That night, after Noah was asleep, Liam called the property management office, left a message asking for Ava's direct number. She called back 20 minutes later. Mr. Carter. Her voice was the same as he remembered. Cool, professional. I wanted to thank you. A pause. For what? The painting, the deal, He struggled to find words. The chance. I got a commission. A big one. I'm going to be able to pay you back. Early, actually. With interest if you want. Another pause, longer this time. He could hear something in the background on her end. Music, maybe. Or voices. That's good, she said finally. I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, me too. He hesitated, then asked the question that had been burning in his mind since the meeting. Did you show the painting to Richard Tan? Silence, then quietly. I may have mentioned your work to a few people. Why would you do that? Because it deserved to be seen. Liam's chest felt tight, not in the bad way, like panic, in a different way, like something had cracked open. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me, Mr. Carter. You did the work. The talent is yours. I just opened a door. That door might have saved my life, mine and Noah's. He heard her breath catch slightly. You have talent, real talent. Don't waste it trying to survive. Use it to build something. Before he could respond, the line went dead. Liam sat in his kitchen, phone in hand, staring at the wall where the painting had been. The space felt empty now, but somehow also full of possibility. Noah padded in from the hallway, rubbing his eyes, dragging his stuffed giraffe by one leg. Dad? You okay? Liam set the phone down and scooped his son up, holding him close, breathing in the smell of kid shampoo and sleep. Yeah, bud, he said softly. I think we're going to be okay. Noah fell back asleep within minutes, his small body going limp against Liam's shoulder. Liam carried him back to bed, tucked the dinosaur blanket around him, and stood in the doorway watching his son's chest rise and fall in the glow of the nightlight. $5,000 would hit his account by Friday. Richard Tan's assistant had already sent the contract over. Half now, half on delivery. It felt like winning the lottery, except this wasn't luck. This was someone believing his work was worth something, someone being Ava Sinclair. He still couldn't wrap his head around it. She'd hung his painting in her home, invited people over, showed it to a lawyer who could write checks with more zeros than Liam usually saw in a year. Why? The question nagged at him as he walked back to the kitchen and opened his laptop. He pulled up the property management portal and navigated to his account. The balance showed what he owed, $3,700 for the 2 months, plus the original $1,850 from the initial overdue rent. $5,500 total. When the commission money cleared, he could pay it all. Clear the debt, start fresh. His finger hovered over the keyboard. Then he closed the laptop. It was past midnight. He should sleep, should rest before Noah woke up at the crack of dawn demanding breakfast and cartoons. Instead, he went to his bedroom and pulled out a fresh canvas. The commission piece for Tan would take weeks of focused work. Something large-scale. Something that conveyed resilience and strength. He had ideas already forming, rough sketches in his mind that needed to make it onto paper before they evaporated. But tonight, he painted something else. He painted Ava. Not her face. He didn't know her well enough for that. But her posture. The way she'd stood in his apartment with her arms crossed, radiating control and distance. The way she'd looked at the painting of the woman in the window, something flickering across her expression before she could lock it down. He painted a figure in silhouette, standing alone in an elegant room. Expensive furniture, art on the walls, everything perfect and arranged and empty. He worked until 3 in the morning, until his eyes burned and his back screamed in protest. Then he cleaned his brushes, turned off the light, and fell into bed fully clothed. The alarm went off 4 hours later. Friday came faster than Liam expected. The wire transfer hit his account at 9:23 a.m. while he was making Noah breakfast. His phone buzzed with the notification. He checked it twice to make sure it was real. $5,000. The number sat there on the screen like something from someone else's life. Noah was eating cereal at the table, milk dripping down his chin. "Dad, can we go to the park today?" "Yeah, bud, after I take care of some stuff." "What stuff?" "Boring adult stuff." Noah made a face. "That's the worst kind." "You have no idea." Liam opened the property management portal on his phone and initiated a payment. $5,500. Every cent he owed, plus a little extra to cover any fees he might have missed. He hit submit. The confirmation screen popped up. Payment processing. Something in his chest loosened. Not all the way. There were still bills, still expenses, still the constant background hum of financial anxiety that never fully went away. But this particular weight, the one that had been sitting on him since that Friday night when Ava knocked on his door, lifted. He could breathe. His phone rang 20 minutes later. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Hello? Mr. Carter? It's Ava Sinclair." His pulse kicked up. "Hi, I just submitted the payment. It should... I saw. That's why I'm calling." He waited. "You didn't have to pay it all at once," she said. "I wanted to. We had a deal, 60 days. I'm paying early." The deal was 60 days for you to catch up, not to pay everything in one lump sum. Is that a problem? A pause. No, it's not a problem. Another silence stretched between them. Liam walked to the living room window, looking out at the street below. A dog walker passed with 3 small dogs on leashes. A car drove by too fast. "I wanted to thank you again," he said, "for what you did. With Tan. With everything. You already thanked me." "I know, but I don't think you understand what this means. For me and Noah." "I think I have some idea." "Do you?" The question came out sharper than he meant it. Not angry, just genuine. Because how could she understand? Someone who owned multiple properties, who wore coats that cost more than his monthly rent, who moved through the world with the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about keeping the lights on. "Maybe I don't," Ava said quietly. "But I know what it's like to need a break and not get one. I know what it's like when no one believes in what you're trying to build." Liam didn't know what to say to that. "The painting," Ava continued, "the one I took as collateral. I'd like to buy it from you, outright." "What?" "I'm offering to purchase it. Name your price." His brain stalled. "You don't have to do that. The deal was you'd return it when I paid. The deal was I'd return it if you wanted it back. Do you?" He thought about the painting, the woman at the window, the isolation and longing and distance he'd poured into it without really understanding why. "How much are you offering? What do you think it's worth?" "I sold a painting last month for $600. That painting is worth more than $600, and you know it. Then you tell me." $5,000. Liam almost dropped the phone. No, that's too much. It's what I'm willing to pay." "Ava, that's Ms. Sinclair," she corrected, but her voice was softer than the words. "Ms. Sinclair, I can't accept that." "Why not?" "Because you already gave me a break on rent. You already showed my work to Tan. You've done enough." "I'm not offering this because I feel sorry for you, Mr. Carter. I'm offering it because I want the painting. It belongs in my home. And $5,000 is a fair price for the work." He paced the length of the living room. Noah had abandoned his cereal and was now building something elaborate with blocks on the floor, narrating a story to himself about dinosaurs and spaceships. "Can I think about it?" Liam asked. "Of course, but I'd like an answer by next week." "Okay." "And Mr. Carter?" "Yeah?" Congratulations on the commission. Richard spoke very highly of you after your meeting. He did? He said you were professional, talented, and that you understood what he was looking for without needing it spelled out. That's rare. Liam's throat felt tight. Thanks. After she hung up, he stood by the window for a long time, watching the street below and trying to figure out what had just happened. The weekend passed in a blur of normalcy that felt almost foreign. Saturday, Liam took Noah to the Natural History Museum. They wandered through the dinosaur exhibits, Noah's eyes huge as he stared up at the massive skeletons suspended from the ceiling. They ate overpriced chicken nuggets in the cafeteria and bought a small plastic triceratops from the gift shop. Sunday, they went to the park. Noah ran himself ragged on the playground while Liam sat on a bench sketching in a small notebook he'd started carrying everywhere. Ideas for the Tan Commission, compositional studies, figure work. A woman sat down on the other end of the bench, mid-30s, tired eyes, watching a little girl on the swings. How old's yours yet? She asked. 4. Yours? 5. Just started kindergarten. They sat in companionable silence for a while, two parents enjoying a rare moment of peace while their kids burned energy. Single parent? She asked. Yeah, you? Divorced. 2 years now. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. It gets easier, they say. Does it? Not sure yet. I'll let you know when I find out. Liam laughed. It felt good. Monday morning, he dropped Noah at preschool and went home to work. The commission piece wasn't going to paint itself, and 6 weeks was tighter than he'd initially thought. He needed to nail down the concept, do preliminary sketches, figure out the composition. He worked for 6 hours straight, barely stopping to eat. By the time he picked Noah up at 3, his back ached and his hand was cramping, but he had something. A sketch that worked, a direction that felt right. That evening, after Noah was in bed, Liam opened his laptop and drafted an email to Ava. Ms. Sinclair, I've thought about your offer. $5,000 for this painting feels generous, more than generous. But if that's what you think it's worth, then I accept. I appreciate everything you've done. More than I can put into words. Liam Carter. He read it 3 times, changed a few words, then hit send before he could second-guess himself. The response came an hour later. Mr. Carter, I'll have the payment transferred tomorrow. The painting will remain where it is. Best of luck with the Tan Commission. A.S. Short, professional. Exactly what he expected. But something about it felt off, like there was more she'd wanted to say but hadn't. He closed the laptop and went to bed. The next 3 weeks were a grind. Liam worked on the Tan Commission during every spare moment, early mornings before Noah woke up, late nights after he went to bed, the hours in between filled with freelance work and parenting and the 1,000 small tasks that made up a life. The painting took shape slowly. He'd settled on a composition that showed a figure, androgynous, powerful, standing at the base of a mountain, looking up. The mountain was massive, overwhelming, but the figure's posture suggested determination. Not defeat, not yet. It was ambitious. Maybe too ambitious, but it felt right. He worked in layers, building depth and texture. The mountain in shades of gray and blue, the figure in warmer tones, browns and golds, human against stone. Noah mostly left him alone when he was painting, understanding in that intuitive way kids had that this was important. But sometimes he'd wander in, climb onto Liam's lap, and watch in silence. What are you making? Dad? Something for work. Is it good? I don't know yet, bud. I think it's good. Liam kissed the top of his head. Thanks. On a Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks into the commission, Liam's phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello? Mr. Carter, this is Margaret Chen. I'm calling from the Huntington Gallery. Liam's hand tightened on the phone. The Huntington was one of the most prestigious galleries in Pasadena. He'd submitted his portfolio to them twice over the years. Both times, he'd gotten polite rejection letters. Hi. Yes. How can I help you? We're curating a show for emerging local artists, and your name came across my desk. I understand you're currently working on a commission for Richard Tan. I am, yeah. Would you be interested in showing some of your other work at the gallery? We're looking for pieces that demonstrate emotional depth and technical skill. Based on what I've seen, I think you'd be a strong fit. Liam sat down heavily on the couch. I'm sorry. What you've seen? I haven't submitted anything recently. Ava Sinclair forwarded your portfolio along with some images of your work. She spoke very highly of your talent. Of course she did. I'd be very interested, Liam managed. What's the timeline? The show opens in 2 months. We'd need the pieces delivered 6 weeks from now for curation and framing. Is that feasible? Yes, absolutely. They talked details for another 10 minutes. How many pieces, dimensions, framing requirements. Margaret promised to send a formal contract by end of week. After hanging up, Liam just sat there. Ava had sent his portfolio to the Huntington Gallery. She'd opened another door, a bigger one this time. He pulled up her contact information and typed out a text before he could overthink it. I just got a call from the Huntington Gallery. Thank you. Again. I don't know what else to say. The response came 5 minutes later. Say yes when they offer you the show, and send me an invitation to the opening. Liam stared at the message. Then he typed, You'll be the first person I invite. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, I'll hold you to that. The tan commission was finished with 2 days to spare. Liam stood back, looking at the canvas propped against his bedroom wall. The figure at the base of the mountain, the sense of challenge and possibility, the weight of the climb ahead balanced against the determination to try. It wasn't perfect. There were areas he'd rework if he had more time. The shadows on the rock face could be deeper. The figure's hands needed more detail. But it was good. Maybe the best thing he'd ever made. He called Richard Tan's office and arranged delivery for Friday morning. Tan met him in the lobby of his building, brought in 2 assistants to help carry the canvas up to his office. They unwrapped it carefully, positioned it on the wall behind his desk. Tan stepped back, studying it. Liam held his breath. It's perfect, Tan said finally. Exactly what I wanted. Better, actually. The relief was physical. I'm glad you're happy with it. More than happy. Tan turned to him. I'll be recommending you to several colleagues. I hope you're prepared for more work. I am. Thank you. Tan handed him an envelope. The second half of the payment, plus a little extra. Call it a bonus for delivering early and exceeding expectations. Liam opened it later in his car. Along with the $5,000 check was an additional $1,000. $6,000. He drove home in a daze. That night, Liam did something impulsive. He looked up Ava's address, easy enough to find in the property records, and drove up into the hills above Pasadena. Her house was exactly what he'd imagined. Modern architecture, clean lines, walls of glass overlooking the city, security gate at the entrance. He almost turned around. This was stupid. Showing up unannounced at someone's home was the kind of thing that got restraining orders filed. But he pressed the call button on the intercom anyway. A pause. Then, Yes? Miss Sinclair, it's Liam Carter. I know I should have called first, but the gate buzzed and swung open. He drove up a curved driveway to a house that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. Warm light glowed from inside. He could see the city spread out below, a carpet of light stretching to the horizon. Ava opened the door before he could knock. She was dressed more casually than he'd ever seen her. Dark jeans, a soft sweater, hair down around her shoulders, no shoes. She looked younger, less guarded. Mr. Carter, this is a surprise. I'm sorry for just showing up. I should have... Do you want to come in, or are we having this conversation on my doorstep? He followed her inside. The house was beautiful. Minimalist, but warm. Wood floors, high ceilings, art on every wall. Some pieces he recognized from galleries, others he didn't. And there, in the main living room above a low-slung couch, was his painting. The woman at the window. It looked different here, larger somehow, more important. It fits, Liam said. It does. Ava stood next to him, both of them looking at the painting. Would you like something to drink? Coffee? Wine? Wine, if you're offering. She poured 2 glasses of red and handed him one. They sat on the couch below the painting, an appropriate distance between them. I finished the tan commission today. Liam said. He loved it, paid me a bonus. That's wonderful. And the Huntington called, confirmed the show. I'm delivering 6 pieces in a month. I heard. Margaret mentioned you'd accepted. Liam turned to look at her. Why are you doing this? Doing what? All of it. The deal on the rent, showing my work to Tan, sending my portfolio to the Huntington. You don't even know me. Ava took a sip of wine, looked at the painting on the wall. Do you want the real answer or the polite one? Real. I see myself in your work. She said it quietly, like an admission. That painting, the woman separated from everything by glass, that was me for a long time. Maybe still is. Liam didn't interrupt. I inherited my father's business when I was 26, Ava continued. He died suddenly. Heart attack. One day he was here, the next he wasn't. I was supposed to take over eventually, but not yet. Not that young. Everyone expected me to fail. Partners, investors, competitors. They were circling like sharks. But you didn't fail. No, I didn't. I worked 18-hour days, made decisions that cost me friendships, built walls between myself and everyone else because it was the only way to survive. She looked at him. I won. Built the business bigger than my father ever had, but I'm not sure what I won exactly. You have all this. Liam gestured at the house, the view, the life she'd built. I have things. That's not the same as having a life. The vulnerability in her voice caught him off guard. When I saw your paintings, Ava said, I saw someone who understood that. The isolation, the distance, but also someone who was fighting against it. Every piece you showed me had loneliness in it, but also connection, or the desire for it. She turned to face him fully. I wanted to help you because your work reminded me that I used to want things beyond success. Before I built all these walls, Liam didn't know what to say. I'm not looking for gratitude, Mr. Carter. I'm looking for... She stopped, shook her head. I don't know what I'm looking for. Liam? What? My name is Liam, not Mr. Carter. A small smile tugged at her mouth. Liam. And I think you're looking for the same thing everyone is. Something real. Something that isn't transactional. Is that what you think I am? Transactional? I think you've had to be. But I don't think that's who you want to be. Ava looked at him for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. I host these gatherings, she said. Investors, business associates, people who might be useful. I serve expensive wine and show them art, and we talk about deals and opportunities. And the whole time I'm thinking about how empty it all feels. Then stop. It's not that simple. Why not? Because this is my life. This is what I built. So build something different. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You make it sound easy. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's possible. Liam stood and joined her at the window. 6 weeks ago, I couldn't pay rent. I was terrified I'd lose my home and have to drag my kid through another move, another school, another upheaval. You gave me a chance, and that chance changed everything. Not because you threw money at me, but because you saw something worth investing in. Your talent? My talent was there the whole time. What changed was someone believing in it. He looked at her. Maybe you need someone to believe in you, not the business version, the real version. And who's going to do that? I don't know, but maybe start by believing in yourself. Ava's eyes glistened slightly. She blinked and looked away. They stood in silence for a while, the city lights spreading out below them like spilled stars. Thank you for coming, Ava said finally. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that. Thank you for everything you've done, for me and Noah. She smiled. How is Noah? He's good. Great, actually, starting to ask when he can see the pretty lady who smells like flowers again. Ava laughed. He said that? His exact words. I'd like to meet him properly sometime, if that's okay. He'd like that. Liam finished his wine and set the glass down. I should go. It's late, and I've got an early morning. Ava walked him to the door. Before he left, she said, Liam? Yeah? Don't be a stranger. He smiled. I won't. The drive home felt different somehow. Lighter. like something had shifted that he couldn't quite name but could definitely feel. When he got back to his apartment, Noah was asleep, and the babysitter he'd hired, a college student from down the hall, was watching TV on low volume. He paid her, locked up, and stood in the living room looking at the space where the painting used to be. It belonged where it was now, in Ava's home. Hanging above her couch. Maybe they both needed a reminder that walls could come down, that distance could close, that something real could exist in the spaces between transactions and survival. He went to bed feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The hope lasted exactly 4 days. On Thursday morning, Liam's phone rang while he was making breakfast. Noah was still asleep and the apartment was quiet except for the sizzle of eggs in the pan. Hello? Mr. Carter, this is Dr. Reeves from Pasadena Children's Clinic. We have Noah here. Liam's heart stopped. What? He's asleep in his room. No, sir, he's here. The preschool called an ambulance about 20 minutes ago. He had some kind of episode during morning activities. The spatula clattered to the floor. Liam was already moving, abandoning the stove, grabbing his keys. What kind of episode? Is he okay? What happened? He lost consciousness briefly. He's awake now and stable, but we need you to come in right away. Liam didn't remember the drive to the clinic. Didn't remember parking or running through the automatic doors or demanding to see his son. Everything blurred into a panic that made his hands shake and his chest tight. They led him to a room where Noah sat on an examination table, looking small and scared. A nurse stood nearby, checking vitals on a monitor. Dad! Noah's voice broke, and Liam was across the room in 2 steps, pulling his son against his chest. I'm here, bud. I'm here. You're okay. I got dizzy, and then I don't remember. It's okay. You're okay now. Dr. Reeves came in, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She waited for Liam to sit down before speaking. Noah experienced what we call a syncopal episode. He fainted. His teacher said he seemed fine one moment, then complained of feeling weird, and then he was on the floor. Why? What caused it? That's what we need to figure out. It could be something benign, dehydration, low blood sugar. But given his age and the sudden onset, I want to run some tests to rule out cardiac issues. The word cardiac hit Liam like a punch. His heart? It's likely nothing serious, but we need to be thorough. I'm recommending an EKG, possibly an echocardiogram, and some blood work. When? Today, if possible. I've already put in the orders. Liam looked at Noah, who was watching him with those big brown eyes, trying to be brave. Okay, whatever you need to do. The test took hours. They hooked Noah up to machines, stuck electrodes on his small chest, drew blood that made him cry despite the nurse's gentle handling. Liam held his hand through all of it, murmuring reassurances he didn't fully believe. By the time they finished, it was past 3 in the afternoon. Dr. Reeves came back with a tablet in hand, her expression carefully neutral. The EKG shows an irregular rhythm. Nothing immediately dangerous, but it's abnormal for a child his age. The echo is being reviewed by our cardiologist now, but I saw some concerning patterns. What does that mean? It means we need more information. I'm referring you to a pediatric cardiologist at Huntington Hospital. They'll do a more comprehensive workup. How comprehensive? Could be several appointments, more tests, possibly a Holter monitor to track his heart over 24 hours. We need to understand what's causing the irregularity and whether it poses any risk. Liam's mouth was dry. And if it does pose a risk? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, one step at a time. But her tone said everything. This wasn't nothing. This was something. They left the clinic with a referral slip and an appointment for the following week. Noah fell asleep in the car on the way home, exhausted from the ordeal. Liam carried him inside, tucked him into bed even though it was barely 4 in the afternoon. Then he sat on the couch and put his head in his hands. The insurance he had through the marketplace was bare bones, high deductible, limited coverage. Pediatric cardiology wasn't going to be cheap, even with insurance picking up part of it. He pulled out his phone and started Googling echocardiograms, Holter monitors, specialist consultations. The numbers made his stomach turn. Even with the money from the Tan Commission, even with the gallery show coming up, this could wipe him out. And if Noah needed treatment, actual medical intervention, He didn't know how he'd pay for it. His phone buzzed. A text from Ava. "How's the prep for the Huntington show going?" He stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "It's fine. Been busy." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Is everything okay?" He almost lied, almost typed out something bland and reassuring, but his hands were shaking and his son was asleep in the next room with a heart that wasn't working right, and he didn't have the energy to pretend. "Noah's sick, heart thing. We're seeing a specialist next week." The response came immediately. "I'm coming over." "You don't have to do that. I'm already in my car." Liam set the phone down and just breathed. He didn't know why she was coming or what she thought she could do, but part of him, the exhausted, terrified part, was grateful not to be alone. She arrived 20 minutes later, still in work clothes, but without the armor of her usual composure. She looked worried. "How is he?" "Asleep. They ran tests all day. Found something with his heart rhythm." "What did the doctor say?" "That they need more tests. That it could be nothing or it could be something. Very helpful, right?" Ava sat down on the couch next to him. Not too close, but close enough that he could feel her presence. "What do you need?" "A medical degree and a lottery win." "Liam?" He looked at her. "I don't know what I need. I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know how much this is going to cost. I don't know anything except that I'm scared out of my mind. Okay? Okay? Okay. You're scared. That's allowed." Something about the simplicity of it, the permission to just feel what he was feeling, cracked something open in his chest. His eyes burned. He blinked hard, looking away. "I can help with the medical bills," Ava said quietly. "No." "Liam, I can't keep taking money from you. You've already done too much." "This is different. This is your son's health, which is exactly why I can't. If I take money from you for this, what does that make me? What does that make us?" "It makes you a father who's doing what he needs to do to take care of his kid. It makes me someone who owes you everything." Ava was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You don't owe me anything. That's not how this works." "Then how does it work? Because from where I'm sitting, you keep giving and I keep taking, and that's not—" He stopped, frustrated with himself for not being able to articulate what he meant. "It's not what? Balanced, equal. Whatever this is between us, it's not equal. Does it need to be?" "Yeah, it does." Ava studied him. "What if I told you I'm not doing this for you?" "What?" "What if I told you I'm doing this because being around you and Noah reminds me what it's like to care about something beyond profit margins and quarterly returns? What if this is as much for me as it is for you?" Liam didn't know how to respond to that. "Let me help," Ava said. "Not as a handout, as a friend. We barely know each other." "Then let's change that." He wanted to argue, wanted to maintain the independence he'd fought so hard to build. But Noah was asleep in the next room with a heart condition they didn't understand yet, and pride felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. "I'll think about it," he said finally. "That's all I'm asking." They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic. "Do you want me to stay?" Ava asked. "I can order dinner, keep you company." "You don't have to do that." "I know, but I want to." Liam looked at her, really looked at her. The expensive clothes and perfect hair, yes, but also the genuine concern in her eyes. The way she sat on his second-hand couch like it didn't matter that it was worn and ugly. "Okay," he said. "Yeah, that'd be nice." Ava ordered Thai food from a place she swore by. They ate straight from the containers, sitting on the couch with plates balanced on their laps. Noah woke up around 6, groggy but okay, and Ava sat with him on the floor building an elaborate tower out of blocks, while Liam cleaned up the kitchen. Watching them together, Ava in her work clothes on the carpet, Noah explaining the intricacies of dinosaur architecture, made something shift in Liam's chest. This woman who owned buildings and hosted investors in her hilltop home was sitting on his floor playing with his son like it was the most natural thing in the world. After Noah went back to bed, earlier than usual, still exhausted from the day, Ava helped Liam clean up the blocks and toy cars scattered across the living room. "He's a great kid," she said. "He is. He deserves better than—" Liam gestured vaguely at the apartment, at their life, at all of it. Better than a father who loves him and works himself to exhaustion to provide for him? Better than constant worry about money? Better than a dad who can't afford proper health insurance? Liam, he has you. That's what matters. Is it? Because right now it doesn't feel like enough. Ava set down the toy car she'd been holding. Can I tell you something? Sure. My father gave me everything money could buy. Best schools, expensive clothes, trips to Europe. But he was never there. Always working, always building the business. I would have traded all of it for one night where he sat on the floor and played with me the way you do with Noah. That's different. How? Your father was choosing work over you. I don't have a choice. You have more choices than you think, and you're making the right ones. Liam wanted to believe her. She left around 9, making him promise to text her after the specialist appointment. He walked her to the door, and before she left, she turned back. I meant what I said, about being friends, about helping. I know. Good. After she was gone, Liam locked up and checked on Noah one more time. His son was sleeping peacefully, chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Looking at him, you'd never know anything was wrong. But something was wrong, and Liam had no idea how to fix it. He went to his bedroom and stood in front of the paintings lined against the wall. 6 pieces ready for the Huntington show. Good work. Maybe the best he'd ever done. But they weren't finished. Not quite. He pulled out a fresh canvas and started sketching. Not for the show, not for a commission, just for himself. He sketched a father holding a child, both of them looking up at something beyond the frame. The father's face showed fear, but also determination. The child's face showed trust. He worked until past midnight, blocking in shapes and values, establishing the composition. This one mattered more than any commission. This one was about something real, Chow. The week crawled by. Noah seemed fine, running around, eating normally, being his usual energetic self. But Liam watched him like a hawk, alert for any sign of dizziness or weakness. The specialist appointment was scheduled for Tuesday. Liam had already arranged to take the whole day off from freelance work, had already mentally prepared himself for whatever news they'd get. Monday night, he couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through worst-case scenarios his brain supplied with cruel efficiency. His phone lit up on the nightstand, a text from Ava. Still awake? Yeah, can't sleep. Me neither. Want company? He should have said no. It was almost 11 at night. Noah was asleep. Having her come over this late felt like crossing a line they'd been carefully not crossing. Yeah, I do. She arrived 30 minutes later in jeans and a sweatshirt, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked younger, more real. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Kept thinking about tomorrow, about you and Noah. You don't need to worry about us. Too late. They sat on the couch in the dark living room, just the faint glow of streetlights coming through the window. Liam had opened a bottle of cheap wine, the only kind he had, and poured them both glasses. Tell me something, Ava said. Something that has nothing to do with art or rent or sick kids. Something real. Liam thought about it. Noah's mom, her name was Jennifer. She left on a Tuesday. I remember because it was garbage day and I was taking the bins out when I came back inside and found the note. What did it say? That she couldn't do it anymore. That she loved Noah, but being a mother was suffocating her. That she needed to find herself. He took a sip of wine. I was angry for a long time. Felt like she'd abandoned us both. But lately I've been thinking maybe it took courage to admit she couldn't handle it. Maybe staying would have been worse. Do you still love her? No, I don't think I ever really did, honestly. We were young and careless, and then suddenly we had a baby. We tried to make it work, but we were building on sand. That's sad. Maybe, but we got Noah out of it, so I can't regret it completely. Ava was quiet for a moment. I was engaged once. Liam turned to look at her. Yeah? 5 years ago. His name was Daniel. He worked in finance. Very successful, very charming, very wrong for me. What happened? I realized he loved the idea of me more than the actual me. He wanted the successful businesswoman to show off at dinners, the trophy wife with her own money, but he didn't want the messy parts, the late nights working, the stress, the moments when I wasn't perfectly composed. So you ended it. He ended it, actually. Said I was married to my work and he'd always come second. He wasn't wrong. Do you regret it? I regret not realizing sooner that we were playing roles instead of building something real. She looked at him. I don't want to do that anymore. Do what? Play roles, pretend, keep everyone at arm's length because it's safer. What do you want? I want what you have with Noah, that connection, that realness. I want to care about something beyond myself. Liam set his wine glass down. You're already doing that. Am I? You're here, aren't you, at 11 at night, worried about a kid who's not yours. He feels a little bit mine now. The admission hung in the air between them. Ava, I know this is complicated. I know I'm your landlord and we have this whole weird power dynamic. But I need you to know that when I'm here, it's not about business. It's not about pity. I'm here because I want to be. Liam didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to point out all the reasons this was a bad idea. The imbalance, the complications, the risk. But another part, the part that had been alone for too long, didn't care about any of that. I want you here too, he said quietly. Ava's hand found his in the dark. They sat like that for a while, not speaking, just existing in the same space. Eventually she said, I should go. You need sleep before tomorrow. Yeah. But neither of them moved. Ava? Yeah? Thank you for everything, for being here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. She squeezed his hand once before letting go and standing up. He walked her to the door, and this time when she turned back, she leaned up and kissed his cheek. It was brief, innocent, but it felt like a promise of something more. After she left, Liam stood at the door for a long time, touching the spot where her lips had been. Tuesday arrived too fast. The pediatric cardiologist's office was in a medical building attached to Huntington Hospital. Bright, sterile, filled with anxious parents and sick kids. Liam checked in at the desk while Noah clung to his leg, unusually quiet. They called them back after 20 minutes. More tests, more electrodes, more machines that beeped and hummed while technicians murmured to each other in medical jargon Liam didn't understand. Dr. Patricia Morrison was in her 50s, gray hair cut short, reading glasses perched on her nose. She reviewed Noah's chart with the kind of focus that made Liam both grateful and terrified. So, she said finally, looking up, the EKG confirms what the clinic found. Noah has what we call a prolonged QT interval. What does that mean? The QT interval is the time it takes for his heart to recharge between beats. In Noah's case, it's taking longer than it should. This can predispose him to dangerous arrhythmias. The word dangerous echoed in Liam's head. How dangerous? In some cases, it can lead to fainting episodes like the one he had. In rare cases, it can cause more serious cardiac events. You mean like a heart attack? In children, we'd call it sudden cardiac arrest. But let's be clear, this is manageable. We have treatment options. What kind of treatment? First, medication, a beta blocker to help regulate his heart rhythm. Second, lifestyle modifications, no strenuous exercise, avoiding certain triggers. And third, monitoring, regular checkups, possibly a wearable device if the medication doesn't control the symptoms. Liam felt like he was drowning. And this is forever? It's a chronic condition, but many children with long QT syndrome live completely normal lives with proper management. What if the medication doesn't work? Dr. Morrison hesitated. Then we'd discuss other interventions. But let's start here and see how he responds. They left with prescriptions and follow-up appointments and a thick packet of information about long QT syndrome. Noah was quiet in the car, sensing something was wrong even if he didn't understand what. Am I sick, Dad? Your heart just needs a little help, bud. The medicine will make it better. Will it hurt? No, just a pill every day. Like vitamins? Exactly like vitamins. That seemed to satisfy him. Liam pulled into a pharmacy drive-thru and filled the prescription. The cost, even with insurance, made him wince. $60 a month. Every month. forever. He paid with the money from the TON commission and tried not to think about how quickly it was disappearing. When they got home, Liam's phone rang. Ava. How did it go? He told her everything, the diagnosis, the medication, the prognosis. I'm so sorry, she said when he finished. It could be worse. At least there's treatment. Still, it's a lot. Yeah. Can I take you guys to dinner? I know you probably don't feel like cooking. Ava, you don't have to. I want to, please. He was too tired to argue. Okay. She picked them up an hour later and drove them to a family-friendly restaurant where Noah could get chicken fingers and Liam could decompress. She sat next to Noah in the booth, helping him color the kids' menu while Liam stared at his untouched burger. You need to eat, Ava said. Not hungry. Eat anyway. He managed half the burger before giving up. After dinner, Ava drove them home. She helped get Noah ready for bed, reading him 2 stories while Liam stood in the doorway watching. When Noah was asleep, they went to the living room. I'm taking care of the medical bills, Ava said. Ava, I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you what's happening. I can't let you do that. You don't have a choice. I've already set up an account. All the bills go to me. Why would you do that? Because I can. Because you shouldn't have to choose between paying for Noah's medication and keeping the lights on. Because she stopped, looking frustrated. Because I care about you, both of you, and I'm not going to stand by and watch you drown when I can help. This isn't your responsibility. Maybe not, but I'm making it my responsibility. Liam wanted to fight her on it, wanted to maintain his independence and dignity, but he was exhausted, terrified, and out of options. I'll pay you back, he said, eventually, when I can. I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to focus on your son and your art. Let me handle this. I don't know how to thank you. Then don't. Just let me help. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Ava stood. I should let you get some rest. Stay. She looked at him. Just for a little while, he said. I don't want to be alone right now. So she stayed. They sat on the couch together, and eventually Liam's head ended up on her shoulder, her arm around him, both of them quiet in the dim light. For the first time in days, Liam felt like he could breathe. Ava left around midnight, and Liam fell asleep on the couch, still wearing his clothes from the hospital visit. He woke to Noah shaking his shoulder, sunlight streaming through the windows. Dad, you slept out here. Yeah, bud, guess I did. Can I have cereal? Sure, let me get up. His back protested as he stood. The couch wasn't meant for sleeping. He shuffled to the kitchen and poured Noah a bowl of the sugary cereal he usually limited to weekends. Today felt like a day for exceptions. While Noah ate, Liam checked his phone. 3 missed calls from a number he didn't recognize. A voicemail from Margaret Chen at the Huntington Gallery reminding him the pieces were due in 10 days. An email from a potential client asking about commission rates. And a text from Ava sent at 7 in the morning. Thinking about you and Noah. Let me know if you need anything today. He typed back, We're okay. Thank you for last night. The response came immediately. Any time. Liam made coffee and tried to focus on what needed to happen. 10 days until the gallery deadline. 6 paintings ready but needing final touches. Noah's first dose of medication to give him this morning. A follow-up appointment to schedule. Freelance work that wasn't going to do itself. He felt like he was juggling chainsaws while standing on a tightrope. Noah finished his cereal and looked up. Dad, can Ava come over again? Maybe. Why? She's nice, and she's good at building block towers. She is pretty good at that. Is she your girlfriend? The question caught Liam off guard. No, bud. She's a friend. But you like her. Yeah, I like her. Does she like you? I think so. Noah considered this while swinging his legs under the table. Good. You should have someone. What do you mean? You're always alone when I'm asleep. That's sad. Liam's throat tightened. 4 years old and already worried about his father's loneliness. I'm okay, Noah. But it's better when Ava's here. You smile more. He couldn't argue with that. After breakfast, Liam gave Noah his first dose of medication, a small white pill crushed and mixed with applesauce because Noah couldn't swallow pills yet. The doctor had said it might make him tired at first, to watch for side effects. Noah took it without complaint, more interested in the cartoon playing on the TV. Liam spent the rest of the morning working on the gallery pieces. He'd promised Margaret 6 paintings, and while they were technically finished, he kept finding things to adjust. A shadow that needed deepening, a highlight that was too bright. Details that probably no one else would notice but bothered him anyway. Around noon, someone knocked on the door. Liam opened it to find a delivery person holding a large box. "Liam Carter?" "Yeah." "Delivery for you. Need a signature." Liam signed the electronic pad and took the box inside. It was heavy, unmarked except for his name and address. Noah appeared next to him. "What is it?" "I don't know." He opened it carefully. Inside were art supplies. Professional grade. The expensive kind he'd always wanted but could never justify buying. Oil paints in a full spectrum of colors. Brushes with real bristles. Canvas already stretched and primed. A wooden palette that felt solid in his hands. At the bottom was a card. "For the Huntington show and whatever comes after, you're going to need better materials." Liam sat back on his heels, staring at the contents. This had to have cost over $1,000, maybe more. Noah was already pulling out the paint tubes, examining the labels. "Wow, these are fancy." "Yeah, they are." "Can we paint something together?" "Not with these, bud. These are for grown-up paintings." Noah's face fell. "But, Liam added quickly, "I've got your paints in the closet. We can set up outside and make something." Noah's smile returned. "Okay." They spent the afternoon on the small balcony attached to the apartment, Noah creating what he called abstract masterpieces that were mostly enthusiastic splashes of color, while Liam sketched in his notebook and tried not to think about how much Ava kept giving him. Later, after Noah was occupied with toys in the living room, Liam called her. "You got the delivery," Ava said before he could speak. "I can't accept this." "You already did. I have the delivery confirmation." "Ava, this is too much. The medical bills are handled. This is separate. This is about your art." "It's too expensive." "You're worth it." "You don't know that. The gallery show could be a disaster. No one might buy anything." "Then you'll have good materials for the next show." "Liam, stop fighting me on this." "I don't know how to stop." "You keep giving and I keep taking, and it feels wrong." "It feels wrong because you think you don't deserve help, but you do. You deserve support and good materials and someone who believes in you." Liam sat down on the couch, phone pressed to his ear. "I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of depending on you. Of getting used to this. Of what happens if you decide I'm not worth it anymore." Ava was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you what I'm scared of?" "Yeah." "I'm scared of caring this much. I'm scared that I've gotten so involved in your life that I can't imagine mine without you in it. I'm scared that I'm fooling myself into thinking this is about helping, when really it's about needing to be needed." "Is that what this is?" "I don't know, maybe. Does it matter?" "I think it does." "Why?" "Because I need to know if you're here because you feel sorry for me or because you actually want to be here." "I want to be here. I want to be in your life and Noah's life. Not because I pity you, because you make me feel like a person again instead of just a business owner." Liam exhaled slowly. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah, I believe you." "Good. Now use those paints and make something beautiful." After they hung up, Liam sat with his phone in his hand for a long time. This thing between them, whatever it was, had gone past landlord and tenant, past favor and gratitude. It was becoming something else. Something that felt both terrifying and inevitable. That evening, after Noah was in bed, Liam opened the box of supplies and set up a fresh canvas. Not for the gallery, not for a commission, just for himself. He painted Ava the way he saw her, not the polished businesswoman in expensive clothes, not the confident property owner who commanded rooms. He painted her the way she'd looked sitting on his floor, building block towers with Noah. Hair slightly messy, barefoot, smiling. He painted her human. The week before the gallery opening was chaos. Liam finished the final touches on all 6 pieces, working late into the night every night. The new materials Ava had sent made a difference. The colors were richer, the brushwork smoother, the final results sharper than anything he'd created before. Noah's medication seemed to be working. No more dizzy spells, no episodes, just a slightly sleepier kid who needed earlier bedtimes and couldn't run quite as wild at the playground. Doctor. Morrison had called with follow-up instructions. Keep him on the medication. Watch for side effects. Come back in 3 months for more tests. The medical bills started arriving. Statements from the clinic, from the hospital, from the specialist. Liam opened each one with dread, saw the totals, and then forwarded them to the email address Ava had given him. He tried not to calculate how much he was paying, tried not to think about the debt accumulating that he had no idea how to repay. On Wednesday, Margaret Chen called. Liam, I need you to bring the pieces in tomorrow for inspection and framing. Can you manage that? Yeah, I can do that. Great. Also, I wanted to give you a heads up. We've had significant interest already. Several collectors have reached out asking about your work specifically. Really? Really? One of them saw your piece at Ava Sinclair's home and tracked down your information through her. Another saw the Tan Commission. Word is spreading. After he hung up, Liam just sat there. This was happening, actually happening. Thursday morning, he borrowed a friend's truck and carefully loaded all 6 paintings. The drive to the Huntington Gallery made his hands sweat. This was one of the most prestigious venues in Pasadena. Artists spent years trying to get shows here, and he was walking in with 6 paintings and hope. Margaret met him in the loading area. She was younger than he'd expected, early 40s, sharp eyes, dressed in all black like she'd attended too many art openings to count. Let's see what you've got, she said. They unwrapped each piece carefully. Margaret walked along the row of paintings, her expression unreadable. The first was the father and son looking upward. The second showed the woman at the kitchen sink. The third depicted the empty playground at dusk. The fourth was the crowded subway car. The fifth showed hands holding a photograph. The sixth was a new piece, a portrait of Noah sleeping, painted from life over several nights, catching the innocence and vulnerability of childhood. Margaret stood back, arms crossed, studying them. These are exceptional, she said finally. Thank you. I mean it. The emotional resonance is remarkable. You're not just painting subjects, you're painting feeling. That's rare. I appreciate that. We'll frame them in simple black. Let the work speak for itself. And I'm pricing them higher than you suggested. How much higher? You said between 2,000 and 4,000. I'm thinking 5 to 8, depending on size. Liam's heart jumped. That seems fair. These will sell, Liam. Trust me. The opening was scheduled for Saturday night, 2 days away. Margaret walked him through what to expect. The setup, the timeline, the crowd. She mentioned that several prominent collectors would be attending, including someone from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Get some sleep, she said as he was leaving, and try not to be too nervous. Your work speaks for itself. Easy for her to say. Friday was a blur of preparation. Liam got a haircut from an actual salon instead of the cheap place on Fair Oaks, bought a new shirt that fit properly, tried on his one pair of dress shoes and realized they were falling apart, so he bought new ones he couldn't afford. Ava texted him throughout the day. How are you feeling? Terrified. That's normal. Is it? Yes. It means you care. That evening she came over. Noah was already asleep. The medication made him drowsy by 7, and Liam was pacing the living room like a caged animal. You need to relax, Ava said. I can't. What if no one likes them? What if I've completely misjudged and this is a disaster? Then it's a disaster and you learn from it. But that's not going to happen. You don't know that. I know your work. I know what it does to people. It makes them feel something real. That's worth more than technical perfection. Liam stopped pacing. Will you be there? Tomorrow? I wouldn't miss it. What if I panic? What if I can't talk to people? Then I'll talk to them. Or you'll hide in the bathroom and I'll make excuses. We'll figure it out. He managed a weak smile. You make it sound simple. It is simple. You show up. You let people see your work. You accept whatever happens. I'm not good at accepting things. I've noticed. She stayed until almost 11, just sitting with him, talking about everything except the gallery opening. about Noah's latest obsession with volcanoes, about a problem tenant in one of her buildings, about nothing and everything. When she left, she kissed him. Not on the cheek this time, on the mouth. Brief, but deliberate. For luck, she said. Then she was gone, and Liam was standing in his doorway, touching his lips and wondering when exactly his life had turned into something unrecognizable. Saturday arrived with cloudless skies and unseasonable warmth. Liam woke early despite barely sleeping. He made breakfast for Noah, gave him his medication, and tried to act like this was a normal day. "Are you going to your art thing tonight?" Noah asked through a mouthful of waffle. "Yeah, bud. Can I come?" "It's going to be really boring. Lots of adults standing around talking. But it's your art." "I know, but you'd be miserable. I asked Mrs. Chen from downstairs to watch you. She said you guys could watch movies and have popcorn." Noah considered this. "What kind of popcorn?" "The good kind with butter." "Okay, but you have to tell me if people like your paintings." "I will, I promise." The day dragged. Liam tried to work on freelance projects and couldn't focus. Tried to read and gave up after the same paragraph 3 times. Tried to nap and lay awake staring at the ceiling. At 4, he started getting ready. Shower, new shirt, dress shoes that still felt stiff. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror trying to tie a tie he hadn't worn in years and failing repeatedly. Noah appeared in the doorway. "You look fancy." "I look like I'm playing dress-up." "Ava will think you look nice." "How do you know Ava's going to be there?" "Because she likes you." Noah said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Liam gave up on the tie and left his collar open. Mrs. Chen arrived at 5:30. She was in her 70s, a widow who lived alone and seemed delighted to have Noah for the evening. She brought coloring books and promised they'd make cookies. "Don't worry about a thing," she told Liam. "Go be an artist." The gallery opening started at 6. Liam arrived at 1:15, his stomach in knots. The space was beautiful. High ceilings, white walls, perfect lighting. His paintings hung in a dedicated section, each one illuminated and labeled with his name. Seeing them here, in this context, in this space, made them feel like they belonged to someone else. Margaret found him standing frozen in front of the painting of Noah sleeping. "You made it. Good." "Yeah, I'm here." "People are going to start arriving soon. Just be yourself. Answer questions honestly. Don't oversell. Let the work do the talking." "Okay?" "And Liam, breathe. You're allowed to enjoy this." The first guests started trickling in around 6:15, art collectors in expensive clothes, gallery regulars who looked bored already, a few younger people who might have been artists themselves. Liam stood awkwardly near his section, trying to look approachable but not desperate. A couple stopped in front of the playground painting. They studied it in silence, then moved on without speaking to him. Another person, a man in his 60s with white hair, paused at the subway painting. He stared at it for a long time. "This is you?" he asked, nodding at the small placard with Liam's bio. "Yes." "It's powerful. The isolation despite the proximity. Very effective." "Thank you." "Do you take commissions?" "I do." The man handed him a business card. "Call me next week. I'd like to discuss a piece for my office." By 7, the gallery was crowded. Margaret had been right. There was significant interest. People kept stopping at his section, asking questions, taking photos of the paintings with their phones. And then Ava arrived. She wore a black dress that was elegant without being flashy. Hair down, minimal jewelry. She looked stunning and completely out of place in the best way. She found him immediately, weaving through the crowd. "You made it," Liam said. "Of course I made it." She looked around at his section, at the people examining his work. "Liam, this is incredible." "It's overwhelming. It's success. Let yourself feel it." A woman approached. Mid-50s, confident posture, assessing eyes. "Are you the artist?" "I am." "I'm interested in this piece." She gestured to the painting of the father and son. "It's remarkable. The vulnerability coupled with strength. Very moving." "Thank you." "Is it sold?" "Not yet." "I'd like to purchase it. Can I speak with the curator about price?" After she walked away, Liam turned to Ava. "Did that just happen?" That just happened. Over the next hour, 3 more paintings sold. the subway car, the hands holding the photograph, the woman at the sink. Margaret pulled Liam aside. This is one of our most successful emerging artist openings in years. People are responding to your work. Really responding. I don't know what to say. Say thank you and start thinking about your next collection. We'll want another show. By 8:30, Liam's face hurt from smiling and his voice was hoarse from talking. The crowd had thinned slightly, but his section still had constant traffic. Ava stayed close, sometimes talking to people on his behalf when he needed a break, sometimes just standing next to him providing silent support. During a quiet moment, she said, "I'm proud of you. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're talented and hardworking and genuine. I know you love your son more than anything. I know you deserve this. Ava, I also know I'm falling for you, and that terrifies me, but I'm done pretending it's not happening." Liam stared at her. The gallery noise faded into background static. "You're falling for me," he repeated. "Yes. The broke single dad who couldn't pay rent 2 months ago. The talented artist who never gave up, despite every reason to. The father who would do anything for his son. The man who looks at me like I'm a person instead of a bank account. I don't know what to do with that. You don't have to do anything. I just needed you to know." Before Liam could respond, Margaret appeared again. "Liam, there's someone who wants to meet you, from Lakma." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of conversations and handshakes and business cards. By the time the gallery closed at 10, Liam's head was spinning. 5 of his 6 paintings had sold. The only one remaining was the portrait of Noah, and that was because Liam had marked it not for sale. Margaret handed him a check. $32,000. Minus our commission, you're walking away with just over 25. Liam looked at the number. $25,000. For his art. For work he'd created in his bedroom after his son went to sleep. "This is real?" he asked. "This is real. And Liam, this is just the beginning." Ava drove him home. They were both quiet in the car, processing. When they pulled up to his building, she turned to him. "What I said earlier," Ava began, "about falling for you. I meant it, but I don't expect anything. I just needed to be honest." Liam reached over and took her hand. "I'm falling for you too. Have been for a while. I just didn't think I had the right to." "Why not?" "Because you're you and I'm me, and it seems impossible. Nothing about this has been conventional. Why start now?" He laughed. It felt good. "Fair point. Can I come up?" she asked. "Just to talk. I'm not ready for tonight to end." "Yeah, I'd like that." They went upstairs quietly. Mrs. Chen had fallen asleep on the couch, a movie playing on low volume. Noah was asleep in his room, cookies crumbs on his face. Liam paid Mrs. Chen and walked her to the door, thanking her profusely. When he came back, Ava was looking at the painting he'd done of her, the one of her on the floor with Noah, human and real. "When did you paint this?" she asked. "Last week, after you sent the art supplies." "It's how you see me? It's who you are when you let yourself be." She turned to face him, eyes bright. "I want to be that person, not just sometimes, all the time." "Then be that person." "It's not that simple. I have responsibilities, a business to run, a reputation to maintain." "And you think being happy conflicts with that?" "I think being vulnerable does." "You're wrong." She smiled sadly. "Maybe." They sat on the couch, close but not touching, both exhausted and wired. "Where do we go from here?" Ava asked. "I don't know. Forward, I guess." "That's not very specific." Nothing about this is specific. We're making it up as we go. I'm not good at making things up. Neither am I. But maybe that's okay." Ava leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm tired of being alone." "Me too." They sat like that until almost midnight, not sleeping, not talking, just being together in the quiet apartment while Noah slept down the hall. Whatever this was, whatever they were building, it felt fragile and new and terrifying, but it also felt real. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Liam felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. Ava left just after midnight, and Liam stood at the door long after her car disappeared down the street. $25,000 in his bank account, 5 paintings sold. A woman he was falling for who seemed to be falling for him too. A son sleeping peacefully in the next room with medication that was working. It felt like standing on solid ground for the first time in years. But the feeling didn't last. Sunday morning arrived with Noah running a fever. Liam woke to his son standing next to the bed, face flushed, eyes glassy. "Dad, I don't feel good." Liam pressed his hand to Noah's forehead. Hot, too hot. "Okay, bud, let's get some medicine in you." He checked the thermometer. 102.3. High, but not dangerous. Probably just a virus. Kids got sick. It was normal, except Noah was on heart medication now, and nothing felt normal anymore. Liam called the after-hours nurse line, explained the situation. The fever, the medication, the heart condition. "Bring him in if it goes above 103, or if he seems lethargic," the nurse said. "Otherwise, Tylenol and fluids. Monitor closely." Liam spent the day doing exactly that, monitoring. Noah slept most of the morning, woke up cranky and clingy, refused to eat, drank juice in small sips. By evening, the fever broke. Noah perked up enough to watch cartoons and eat some crackers. Liam texted Ava, "Noah's sick, nothing serious, but I'm staying close today." Her response, "Do you need anything? I can bring soup." "We're okay. Just a bug. Let me know if that changes." Monday, Noah was better but still not himself. Liam kept him home from preschool, working on freelance projects while Noah colored quietly at the coffee table. The check from the gallery sat on the kitchen counter. Liam had deposited it Sunday morning, watching the balance in his account jump to a number he'd never seen before. $25,000. He could pay off every bill, could put money aside for Noah's medical expenses, could stop worrying about rent for the first time in over a year, could finally breathe. But something nagged at him. The money felt good, but it also felt fragile. One illness, one emergency, one unexpected expense, and it could disappear. Tuesday morning, Ava called. "How's Noah?" "Better, back to his normal chaos." "Good. Can we talk?" "In person?" "Yeah, when?" "I'm outside your building." Liam looked out the window. Her car was parked on the street below. He let her in. She looked different, less polished than usual. Jeans and a sweater, hair in a ponytail, no makeup. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen before you respond." That sounded ominous. "Okay." They sat on the couch. Noah was at preschool, the apartment quiet. Ava took a breath. "I've been thinking about what I said Saturday night, about falling for you, about wanting to be different." "Ava, let me finish." She looked at her hands. "I meant it, all of it, but I've been lying to myself about why I'm doing all this." Liam's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I told myself I was helping you because you're talented and deserving, and that's true. But it's not the whole truth." She met his eyes. "I'm helping you because it makes me feel needed, because being around you and Noah fills something that's been empty for a long time. And that's not fair to you. I don't understand. I'm using you, Liam. Not intentionally, but I am. You and Noah have become my escape from a life I don't particularly like. And that's not healthy for any of us. You're not using us. I am. And the worst part is I'm doing it while telling myself it's altruism. But real help doesn't come with strings attached. And my help has strings, even if I don't want to admit it." Liam felt like the ground was shifting under him again. "What strings?" "I need you to need me. That's the string. I'm terrified that if you become successful and independent, you won't want me around anymore." "That's not true." "Isn't it? Be honest. If I hadn't given you that break on rent, if I hadn't shown your work to Richard Tan, if I hadn't paid your medical bills, would you have any reason to keep me in your life?" The question landed hard because Liam didn't have an immediate answer. "I care about you," he said finally, "not because of what you've done for me, because of who you are. Do you know who I am, or do you know the version of me that shows up here and plays with your son and writes checks? I know you're the woman who sat on my floor building block towers, who admitted she's lonely, who looks at my paintings and sees something real. That's the version I want to be. But it's not the version I am most of the time. Most of the time, I'm the person who calculates ROI, before making decisions, who fires people without blinking, who sees relationships as transactions. Then change. I'm trying, but I can't change if my reason for changing is to keep you. That's just another transaction. Liam stood up, frustrated. So what are you saying? That this is over? That you're done helping? I'm saying I need to step back, not completely, but enough that you can stand on your own. Enough that I can figure out who I am when I'm not trying to fix someone else's life. I never asked you to fix my life. I know, but I did it anyway because it was easier than fixing my own. They stood in silence. Outside, a car honked. Someone's dog barked. Life continued while Liam's world rearranged itself. I'm still paying the medical bills, Ava said. That's not negotiable. Noah's health isn't part of this. Then what is? Us. Whatever we are. I think we need space to figure out if this is real or if it's just two lonely people clinging to each other. I know it's real. How? How do you know? Her voice was gentle but firm. We've known each other for 2 months. Most of that time I've been in a position of power over you. You couldn't say no to me even if you wanted to. I could have said no plenty of times. Could you? Really? She shook her head. I don't think either of us knows what this is yet, and I need to step back so we can find out without all the complicated layers. Liam wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, that this was just fear talking, that they could work through it. But part of him, the part that had been wondering the same things late at night, knew she was right. How long? He asked. I don't know. A few weeks, maybe longer. However long it takes for both of us to be sure. And if I'm already sure, then you'll still be sure in a few weeks. She stood and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. I care about you, Liam, more than I've cared about anyone in a long time. That's exactly why I need to do this, because I want this to be real, not just convenient. After she left, Liam sat on the couch, staring at nothing. She was right. He hated that she was right, but she was. He'd been so focused on surviving that he hadn't stopped to question what they were building, hadn't asked himself if his feelings for her were genuine or just gratitude wrapped in attraction. The answer should have been obvious, but sitting alone in his apartment, he realized it wasn't. The next 3 weeks were the hardest Liam had experienced since Jennifer left, not because things were falling apart, because things were actually coming together and he had to figure out who he was in the middle of it. The money from the gallery gave him breathing room. He paid off every outstanding bill, put $5,000 aside for Noah's medical expenses. Prepaid rent for the next 3 months. Commission requests kept coming in. 3 more clients reached out, all willing to pay prices that would have seemed impossible a few months ago. He picked up 2 of them, pieces he actually wanted to create, not just paychecks. A landscape for a couple renovating their home. A portrait for a woman who'd lost her mother. Noah's health stabilized. The medication worked without major side effects. Dr. Morrison's follow-up showed improvement in his heart rhythm. Not perfect, but better. And Ava kept her word about stepping back. She paid the medical bills as promised, but they didn't talk, didn't text, didn't see each other. Liam told himself it was fine, that he was busy anyway, that he didn't need her, but Noah asked about her constantly. When is Ava coming over? She's busy, bud, but I miss her. I know. Do you miss her? Liam didn't know how to answer that honestly without scaring his son. He threw himself into work, finished both commissions early, started sketching ideas for another gallery show Margaret had mentioned wanting to schedule for next spring. He took Noah to the park, to museums, to the beach. They had picnics and movie nights and lazy Sundays where they didn't leave the apartment. It was good, better than it had been in years, but something was missing. On a Thursday afternoon, 3 weeks after Ava had walked out, Liam got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Carter? This is James Bradford from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Liam sat up straighter. Yes, hi. We met briefly at your Huntington opening. I was very impressed with your work. We're curating a group show featuring emerging California artists, and I'd like to include you. Would you be interested? Absolutely, yes. They talked details, timeline, number of pieces, theme. Bradford mentioned that the show would tour to 3 other museums over the following year. This is a significant opportunity, Bradford said. the kind of exposure that can launch a career. After hanging up, Liam just sat there. Lakma wanted his work. His art, the paintings he created in his bedroom after his son went to sleep, were going to hang in one of the most prestigious museums in the country. The first person he wanted to tell was Ava. He pulled up her contact, started typing a text, then stopped. This was his achievement, his success. And while she'd helped him get here, she was right that he needed to own it himself. He called his mother instead. She lived in Arizona now, retired, remarried. They talked maybe once a month. "Mom, I have news." "What's wrong? Is Noah okay?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's great, actually." He told her about the gallery show, the sales, the LACM opportunity. "Liam, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were talented." "Thanks, Mom." "And how are you managing with Noah's condition?" "We're figuring it out. The medication's working." "Good. And are you seeing anyone? Please tell me you're not still alone." "There's someone. Maybe. It's complicated." "It's always complicated." "She good to you?" "Very." "Then don't let complicated get in the way." After they hung up, Liam thought about that. Don't let complicated get in the way. But complicated was all he knew. That night, after Noah was asleep, Liam pulled out the painting he'd done of Ava, the one showing her human and real. He studied it, trying to understand what he felt. He missed her. That was obvious. But did he miss her specifically, or did he miss having someone who cared? Did he love her, or did he love the idea of not being alone? The questions circled without answers. Friday morning, Noah's preschool called. "Mr. Carter, Noah's fine, but he's asking to talk to you." Liam's heart jumped. "Put him on." "Dad?" "Hey, bud. What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I made you something in art class, and I want to show you now." Liam exhaled in relief. "I'll see it when I pick you up, okay?" "But it's really good." "I bet it is." After hanging up, Liam realized he'd been holding his breath. Every phone call about Noah still triggered panic, probably would for a while. He picked Noah up at 3. His son burst out of the classroom holding a painting. "Look! I made us!" It was crude, the way 4-year-old art always was, but unmistakable. 2 stick figures, one big and one small. The big one had paint-streaked hands. The small one was holding the big one's hand, and next to them, slightly separate, was a third figure, smaller than the adult, taller than the child, with long dark hair. "Who's that?" Liam asked, though he knew. "Ava. She's part of our family now." "Bud, Ava's not—" "She is, though. She takes care of us. That's what family does." Liam didn't know how to argue with that logic. That night, he took a photo of Noah's painting and sent it to Ava. No message, just the image. Her response came 20 minutes later. "He has a good eye for composition." Liam smiled. "Wonder where he gets it." "How are you?" "Okay. Busy. Lakma wants to include me in a show." "Liam, that's incredible. Congratulations." "Thanks. How are you?" "Lonely." The honesty of it hit him in the chest. "Me too." "Does that mean we're doing this wrong?" she asked. "I don't know. Maybe we're doing it right and it just sucks." "Very possible." A pause. Then, "Can I see you?" "When? Now?" Liam looked at the time. Almost 8. Noah was in bed, but not asleep yet. "Tomorrow, lunch? There's a park near my place. I'll be there." "Noon?" "Okay." After they stopped texting, Liam sat with his phone for a long time. Tomorrow they'd talk, figure out what this was, whether it could work. He was terrified and hopeful in equal measure. No. Saturday arrived with clear skies and unseasonable cold. Liam dropped Noah at a birthday party for one of his preschool classmates, 2 hours of supervised chaos that would wear him out nicely, and headed to the park. Ava was already there, sitting on a bench near the playground. She wore jeans and a jacket, looking more like herself than the polished businesswoman he'd first met. He sat down next to her. "Hi," she said. "Hi." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. 2 people who'd been intimate in every way except physical, now struggling to find words. "I've been thinking," Ava said finally, "about what I said." about needing space. Yeah? I was right that we needed it, but I was wrong about why. What do you mean? I thought the problem was that I was using you to fix my life. But the real problem was that I didn't think I deserved to be happy unless I was earning it somehow. Liam turned to look at her. My whole life has been transactional, Ava continued. Work hard, get rewards, provide value, receive value. I didn't know how to just be with someone without calculating what I owed or what they owed me. And now? Now I'm trying to learn. It's hard. I keep wanting to do things for you, pay for things, fix problems, make your life easier. Not because you need me to, but because that's the only way I know how to show I care. I understand that. Do you? Yeah, I've been doing the same thing in reverse, trying to figure out how to deserve you, like I need to achieve enough success or prove I'm worth your time. You don't need to prove anything. Neither do you. They sat with that for a moment. I love you, Ava said quietly, not because of what you've accomplished or what you might accomplish, not because you need me or don't need me. I love you because when I'm with you, I feel like the person I want to be, and I think that's what love is supposed to be. Liam's throat was tight. I love you too, and it scares the hell out of me because I don't know how to do this without messing it up. So we'll mess it up together and figure it out as we go. That simple? Nothing about this is simple, but maybe we're allowed to try anyway. Liam took her hand. Noah drew a picture of us. You're in it. He said you're part of the family. What did you say? I didn't know what to say, because I wanted it to be true, but I didn't know if I had the right to want that. Do you? Want it to be true? Yeah, I do. Ava leaned her head on his shoulder. They sat like that, watching a few kids play on the swings, the sun bright and cold. What happens now? She asked. I don't know. We figure it out. Take it slow, see where it goes. I'm not good at slow. Me neither, but maybe that's okay. They stayed at the park until Liam had to pick up Noah from the birthday party. Ava came with him. When Noah saw her, his face lit up. Ava, you came back! Hey kiddo, I heard there was a party. There was cake and a bounce house and everything. Noah chattered the whole drive home, filling Ava in on every detail with the intensity only a 4-year-old could manage. Back at the apartment, Noah immediately demanded they all build a block tower together. So they did, the three of them on the living room floor, creating an increasingly precarious structure that eventually collapsed in a heap. Noah thought it was hilarious. Watching him laugh, watching Ava laugh with him, Liam felt something settle in his chest. This was what he'd been missing. Not perfection, not security, not even success, just connection. Real, messy, imperfect connection. That evening, after Noah was asleep, Ava stayed. They sat on the couch, close but not rushed, just being together. I want to try this, Ava said. Really try. Not as a transaction, not as me saving you or you needing me, just as two people who care about each other. What does that look like? I don't know. We figure it out. I stop trying to fix everything. You stop feeling like you have to earn your place in my life. We just exist together and see what happens. I can do that. I think. We'll mess up. Probably. But we'll try anyway. Yeah. She kissed him then, soft and tentative like they were starting over. In a way, they were. 3 months later, Liam stood in the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, staring at his painting hanging on the wall. It was the piece he'd created after Ava had asked for space. A father and son standing together, looking up at something beyond the frame, fear and determination in equal measure. The museum opening was packed. Collectors, critics, other artists, the kind of crowd that would have terrified him 6 months ago. But tonight he felt calm. Noah was with Ava's parents. She'd introduced them last month, and her mother had immediately adopted Noah as a surrogate grandson. They were at some expensive hotel pool, probably eating room service and staying up too late. Ava stood next to Liam, her hand in his. How does it feel, she asked. Surreal. Good. Terrifying. That sounds about right. Margaret Chen approached with a man in an expensive suit. Liam, I'd like you to meet someone. The conversation went well. Another commission offer. Another opportunity. 6 months ago, Liam would have said yes immediately out of desperation. Tonight, he said he'd think about it. He had the luxury of choice now. After the man walked away, Ava squeezed his hand. You handled that well. I learned from someone. Who? This terrifying landlady I used to know, very intimidating, but it turned out she was human underneath. Ava laughed. Just human? Okay, slightly above average human. Better. They left the opening early, picking up Noah on the way home. He was exhausted but wired, talking a mile a minute about the pool and the fancy soap and how Ava's mom let him order chocolate cake for dinner. Back at the apartment, Liam's apartment still, though they'd talked about maybe finding a place together eventually, they put Noah to bed together. Ava read the story while Liam sat in the doorway watching. This had become their routine. Not every night, but often enough that it felt normal. After Noah was asleep, they sat on the balcony. It was a warm night, the city spread out below them. I've been thinking, Ava said. About? Selling the property management business. Liam turned to look at her. Really? Not all of it, but most of it. I'm tired of being a landlord. I want to do something different. Like what? I don't know yet. Maybe something with art. Maybe something completely different. But I want to build something new instead of just maintaining what my father built. That's a big change. I'm ready for big changes. Yeah? Yeah. She looked at him. Being with you has shown me what it's like to care about something beyond profit margins. I want more of that in my life. No pressure then. She laughed. You're not responsible for my life choices. But you did show me there were other choices to make. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Can I tell you something? Liam asked. Always. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. I couldn't pay rent. My son was sick. I was barely holding it together. And then you knocked on my door and everything changed. You changed it. I just gave you a chance. You gave me more than that. You gave me space to breathe, room to fail without losing everything. And that made all the difference. You would have figured it out without me. Maybe, but it would have been a lot harder and a lot lonelier. Ava leaned against him. I'm glad I knocked on your door. Me too. Even though I was a terrifying landlady, especially because of that. Inside, Noah called out in his sleep. Some dream about dinosaurs, probably. Liam waited to see if he'd settle. He did. This is good, Ava said quietly. This life. It's not what I imagined, but it's good. What did you imagine? Something colder, more successful maybe, more impressive from the outside, but emptier. And this? This is messy and complicated and sometimes scary, but it's real, and I'll take real over impressive any day. Liam kissed her temple. Me too. Later, after Ava had gone home, she still had her place in the hills, and they were taking it slow, building something sustainable instead of rushing. Liam stood in his bedroom looking at the paintings lined against the wall. His next show was scheduled for spring. Margaret wanted 10 pieces. He had ideas for 8. But he wasn't worried. The creativity was flowing now. Not from desperation, but from something deeper. From the desire to capture moments that mattered. Connection. Love. The messy reality of being human. He pulled out a fresh canvas and started sketching. A family. Not perfect. Not idealized. Just real. A father, a son, and a woman who'd become part of their story. Imperfect people building an imperfect life. And somehow, impossibly, making it work. Noah had been right all along. Ava was part of their family now. Not because she'd saved them or fixed their problems, but because she'd chosen to show up. To be present. To be real. And Liam had learned that asking for help wasn't weakness. That accepting support didn't diminish his worth. That love didn't require perfection, just presence and honesty and the willingness to try. As he worked on the painting, he thought about that Friday night when Ava had knocked on his door. How terrified he'd been. How certain he was that opening the door meant losing everything. He'd been right, in a way. Opening that door had cost him the isolation he'd built around himself, the walls he'd erected to keep from getting hurt. But it had given him something better. something real, a life he actually wanted to live, a family he'd built one imperfect moment at a time, and the understanding that sometimes the things that scare us most are the exact things we need to embrace. Liam painted until almost 2 in the morning, then cleaned his brushes and climbed into bed. Tomorrow, Noah had a follow-up cardiology appointment. Next week, Liam had a commission deadline. Next month, he and Ava were taking Noah to see her parents again. The future stretched ahead, full of uncertainty and possibility. But for the first time in years, Liam wasn't afraid of it. He'd learned that survival wasn't the same as living, that success meant different things at different times, that asking for help wasn't failure, it was courage, and that sometimes the person who knocks on your door demanding payment ends up giving you something far more valuable than money or time. They give you hope. And hope, it turned out, was the thing worth fighting for all along.